Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation: a true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized man sees me everywhere. Translation with repetition: a true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized man sees me everywhere. Purport: a Krishna conscious yogi is the perfect seer because he sees Krishna, the supreme, situated in everyone's heart as supersoul, Paramatma. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe Arjuna tishtati. The Lord, in his Paramatma feature, is situated within both the heart of the dog and that of a Brahman. The perfect yogi knows that the Lord is eternally transcendental and is not materially affected by his presence in either a dog or a Brahmana. That is the supreme neutrality of the Lord. The individual soul is also situated in the individual heart, but he is not present in all the hearts. That is the distinction between the individual soul and the super soul. One who is not factually in the practice of yoga cannot see so clearly. A Krishna conscious person can see Krishna in the heart of both the believer and the non-believer. In the Smriti, this is confirmed as follows: Atatatvacha matritvad atma hi paramo harihi. The Lord, being the source of all beings, is like the mother and the maintainer. As the mother is neutral to all kinds of children, the supreme father or mother is also. Consequently, the super soul is always in every living being. Outwardly also, every living being is situated in the energy of the Lord. As will be explained in the 7th chapter, the Lord has primarily two energies: the spiritual or superior and the material or inferior. The living entity, although part of the superior energy, is conditioned by the inferior energy. The living entity is always in the Lord's energy. Every living entity is situated in him in one way or another. The yogi sees equally because he sees that all living entities, although in different situations, according to the results of the fruitive work, in all circumstances remain the servants of God. While in the material energy, the living entity serves the material senses, and while in spiritual energy, he serves the Supreme Lord directly. In either case, the living entity is a servant of God. This vision of equality is perfect in a person in Krishna consciousness. Thus ends the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So let us look at the verse that we just chanted. Sarva bhutastamatmanam sarva bhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. Sarva bhutastam, stham, that is situation, situated. Sthanam, like that, stham, situated. Bhuta, that is all living beings. Sarva, all living beings. Sarva bhutastam. And where are they situated? Atmanam, the super soul. Sarva bhutani chatmani, all the living entities are also situated um, that is the um, all the living entities are situated in me, and also I am in all the living entities. So that is what those first two lines say. And who is seeing this? Ikshate yoga yukta atma. So Ikshate is seeing, and who is the seer? Yoga yukta atma. One who is dovetailed in Krishna consciousness. And in the translation, it is said a true yogi. Sarvatra samadarshanaha. Sarvatra is everywhere. Samadarshanaha, seeing equally. So everywhere, a true yogi or a self-realized person, he observes that Krishna is present in every living being, and also sees that every living being is present in Krishna. Not only that, that such a person, a self-realized man, sees Krishna everywhere. So there are three things which are being mentioned here. One is that Krishna is present in all the living beings. The second is that all the living beings are present in Krishna. And the third is Krishna is present everywhere. So let us try to understand this. In the purport also, these points are mentioned. Let us try to understand the purport. It's simply stated, although this purport has many, many wonderful points, the verse also has many wonderful points. But let us just look at it very, very simplistically at a very high level in three divisions, exactly the way the translation reads. The first is seeing Krishna in all living beings. So how is it that purport says Krishna is visible in all the living beings? So there are 4 points that are mentioned in the purport to support this. First is that Krishna is seated in everyone's heart as super soul. So Krishna is seated in everyone's heart as super soul. And everyone's heart, there are examples given. A person may be a believer, may accept the supremacy of Krishna. A person may accept that Krishna is a supreme person, and he may accept that Krishna resides in my heart as Paramatma. Or a person may not accept like that. He may be a complete non-believer. He may think that the body is made of Panchabhutas, and once the life is finished, everything is finished. There is no God. So a person may either accept that Krishna is a supreme person and is present in my heart as Paramatma, or he may not accept it all. But regardless, a yogi sees that in both cases, Krishna is present in their heart. Whether or not a person accepts is secondary, but Krishna is nevertheless present. And similarly, a person may have different kinds of body. It may be a dog body or a Brahmana body. Maybe a very pious person, Brahmana, or he may be just any other beast, dog, donkey, anything. The example given in the purport is dog. It may be a dog or a Brahmana, but Krishna is still present in their heart as Paramatma. So a yogi is able to see this. And then there is another point that is made, that although the body is different, a dog body is different, Brahmana body is different, child body is different, donkey body may be different, camel is different, but Krishna is present in all their bodies. And he is not influenced by the kind of body that he is in. Right? So he's not present. He's not influenced by that. His position is transcendental. He is transcendental to the type of body. So no matter what body he is present in, his position remains transcendental. And this the yogi is able to see. And just as another example is given in the purport of a parent, father or mother. A father or mother, they may have many children. Some may be very talented. Other children may not be so talented. Some may be very opulently situated. Another child may be very not so opulent, may not have talent, may not be wealthy, or may even have some health problems. But it doesn't matter to the parent. The parent, all their children are equal. They love their children equally. So this is another point that is made in the purport, that Krishna is neutral, like a father or a mother. Like a father is mentioned as a maintainer, within bracket, like a father, or like a mother. In either case, he is neutral and he is not partial to the type of living entity in whose heart he is living as a super soul. So Krishna is neutral. And a yogi is able to see this. So a true yogi is able to see not only that Krishna is seated in everyone's heart, a super soul, regardless of believer, non-believer, dog, Brahmana. He is able to see his transcendental position. He is able to see his neutrality. And he's also able to see the difference between the individual soul and the super soul, the Paramatma. He's able to see that this dog body has a Jivatma, and that is distinct from the Paramatma who's present in everybody's heart. Whereas the dog Jiva Atma is present only in the dog body, he's not present in my body, he's not present in Brahmana body. Brahmana Jivatma is present in the Brahmana body. The believer's Jivatma is present in the believer's body. The disbeliever's Jivatma is present in the disbeliever's body. But what is common in all these bodies? Paramatma. The same Paramatma is situated in all these bodies. So that is the difference between the individual Jivatma, the soul, and the supreme soul, Paramatma. So the true yogi is able to see this, how Krishna is situated in everybody's heart, and is yet he is distinct from the Jivatma, who is also situated in individual living entities. Krishna's position is transcendental. Krishna is neutral as Paramatma, and how he is situated in every single person's heart and not just one person, as unlike Jiva, who's present in only one body. So this is the first point, how a true yogi is able to see Krishna in all the living beings. Now let us see the second point, how all beings are situated in Krishna. So this is a converse. The first point is Krishna is in everybody. The second is all beings are in Krishna. So for this, Prabhupada gives 3 points. The first, he explains that how, if you consider the living entity to be just the body, we don't even understand that the living entity has no understanding that he is the eternal spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. The living entity has no such understanding, let us say. Then he is acting in the platform that I am this body. So in such a case, he is identifying with the body and he is engaged with the objects of the senses, which are the senses are present in the body and the objects of senses are present outside the body. Both the body, the senses, and the sense objects, they are all the Lord's energy. They are all the energy of the Lord. So the Lord has different types of energies. Parasya Shaktir Vividheva Suyate Swabhaviki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. So the Lord has many different energies, and one of the energies the Lord has is the external environment in which the Jiva Bhuta is living, and the other energy is the body within which the Jivatma is living. But even if he has no understanding of that, he is identifying himself with the body. But because the body itself is Lord's energy, therefore it can be said that the Jiva is situated in the Lord, even though it is indirectly situated, because instead of being situated directly in the Lord, internal energy, he is situated in the Lord's external energy and is interacting with the environment around him, the material nature, which is the Lord's external energy. Now, and then Prabhupada says, but if if you look at the inside that person, there is a spirit soul, and that spirit soul is actually the energy of the Lord, internal, superior energy of the Lord. It is, and that is, Prabhupada refers to the 7th chapter, which we will see later in detail when we go to 7th chapter. But essentially, Krishna is talking about the fact that there are 2 types of Prakrti. One Prakrti is the superior Prakrti, and other is the inferior Prakrti. The superior Prakrti is a living entity, and the inferior Prakrti is the material nature around us. So the Jivatma, the living entity, is a superior Prakriti, and that superior Prakriti is Krishna's Prakriti, Krishna's energy, superior energy of the Lord. So the Jivatma himself is part and parcel of Krishna. So he is able to see that the Jivatma is in Krishna. All beings are in Krishna. So he is able to see that the living entity is present in Krishna. And that is inwardly, the actual living entity, the spirit soul. but the living entity is surrounded by the body, and the body is Krishna's energy. So both inwardly and outwardly, in both ways, the living entity is actually situated in Krishna. So this is what a true yogi is able to see. So either the living entity is interacting with the environment around him through the senses and the sense objects. So in this way, he is serving the senses by interacting with the sense objects. So in that case, since the senses are part of Krishna's inferior energy, indirectly he is serving Krishna. But if he realizes his constitutional position as part and parcel of Krishna, and he directly serves the Supreme Lord, then he's directly in touch with Krishna. He's directly serving Krishna. So either he's indirectly a servant of Krishna or he's directly a servant of Krishna. In both cases, the living entity, all living entities are always servants of God. So this is what the Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport. A true yogi is able to see this, that both outwardly or inwardly, whichever way you look at it, actually living entity is serving God directly or indirectly. So the position of the living entity is actually is a servant of God, although he may not realize it. A living entity may believe that I am this body, I am independent, I have my own existence, I don't need any concept of God, I don't need to have a make-believe God who appears to looking like a human being just because I look like a human being. You people are all thinking that God also looks like a human being. Why do you need such a God? This is just a psychological crutch that you all require for peace of mind. I'm already peaceful. I don't need all this. Somebody may think like this. So, but even such a person is actually servant of God. He has no understanding of that, but unknowingly he is servant of God. So a true yogi is able to see this. A third point, which is made in the translation, but it is not elaborated directly in the purport, but it is implied. Let us see what that is. The third point is that a self-realized man sees Krishna everywhere. See, this is a slightly different nuance than the first point, which is Krishna is present in every living being. The second point is every living being is present in Krishna. The third point is Krishna is everywhere. He is able to see Krishna everywhere. So the seeing Krishna everywhere is not elaborated in the purport directly, but it has already been studied. We have studied in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That verse is here in the screen. Achedyoyam adahyoyam akledyo ashoshya evacha nitya sarvagata sthanur achaloyam sanatanaha. So in this, there is a word, achedyo ayam adahyo ayam akledyo ashoshya evacha nitya sarvagata sthanur. Sarvagata. So the word sarvagata means that the spirit soul can go anywhere, can go everywhere. And the exact, I'll take the one, I'll paraphrase one section from the purport. The word sarvagata, all pervading, is significant because there is no doubt that living entities are all over God's creation. They live on land, in the water, in the air, within the earth, and even within fire. The belief that they are sterilized in fire is not acceptable because it is clearly stated here that the soul cannot be burned by fire. Therefore, there is no doubt that there are living entities also in the sun planet with suitable bodies to live there. If the sun globe is uninhabited, then the word sarvagataha, living everywhere, becomes meaningless. So the soul can go everywhere. Therefore, the living entities are everywhere. Because the true yogi or self-realized man is able to see Krishna in every living entity, therefore it is implied that he can see Krishna everywhere. So, although in the purport this is not exactly separately mentioned, it can be inferred like this. But of course, Krishna is also present everywhere through his external energy, and we will discuss that in a second. So this verse, we just saw this. So I'll just go past. So Krishna has already has mentioned in the 7th chapter, Rasoham apsu kaunteya prabhasmi shashi suryoho pranamah sarva vedeshu shabda ke paurusham rishu. So, and there are many other places in Bhagavad Gita how Krishna mentions how one can relate to him, how one can see him in the external energy of the Lord. And that comes a little later. But here in the 7th chapter, Krishna is saying that I am the taste of water. Rasoham apsu kaunteya. And all of us, of course, right here, there is water. Just 1 hour, if you do kirtan, we feel thirsty and we are forced to drink water. So, particularly, if the water is taken from the sea, do you like the water taken from sea, Ishika? No? Have you tried drinking water from the sea? It was bad. So taste of water in the sea is not very good because it is mixed with so many impurities, right? All this salt and so many other things. Actually, the taste of water is in the purity. And the purity in the taste of water is actually Krishna. Rasoham apsu kaunteya. That means the taste of water means the taste of the purity in water. That is Krishna. So whenever we taste water, we can think of Krishna. We can see Krishna in that. A person who understands Krishna's instructions in Bhagavad Gita will immediately recall when he drinks water that, oh, this taste of pure water, this taste is actually Krishna. And similarly, Prabhashmi Sashishurayoho, O son of Kunti Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in Vedic mantras, I am the sound in ether and ability in man. So everybody sees our own ability. In fact, more than other people's ability, we find it very interesting to see our own ability. Right? Somebody else may have a lot of ability, but we don't like to see that. We think that ability is nothing. Array, what is this? Nothing. His situation is very favorable. That's why he is able to do that. If that situation was available to me, I will do much better because my ability is much better. So like this, we like to think. But actually, that ability is Krishna. I am ability in man. So in the external energy of the Lord, which we are able to see everywhere, that of course, a self-realized man or a perfect yogi is able to see that presence of Krishna in the external energy. But because he is able to see Krishna in every living entity, and the living entities are everywhere, that way also he is able to see Krishna everywhere. So seeing Krishna everywhere can be done in 2 ways. One is seeing Krishna in external energy, and other is seeing Krishna in the living entities and seeing living entities everywhere. This notion that living entities are only on earth and we are alone in this universe, there is no living entity in the moon or sun, there is no Vedic evidence to support this. And scientific way of accepting information is through the deductive process of knowledge. There are 2 kinds of learning. One is called the inductive process of learning, and the other is called the deductive process of learning. And deductive process of learning, mathematics. Mathematics is deductive process of learning. Whereas the theories that we study in physics, the theory of gravity, the theory of reflection of light, the theory of wave, the theory of particle, the theory of interference of sound, the theory of whatever other theories we study. These theories are called inductive reasoning. So always deductive reasoning, like mathematics, is always true. Just like 1 plus 1 is true in Ishika's class, correct? 1 plus 1 is true for you? It is true for you. It is true for a much older child also. In the 12th grade also, 1 plus 1 remains true. It is not that we go to 12th grade and suddenly 1 plus 1 becomes 3. It doesn't become like that. 1 plus 1 is always 2 only. So mathematics is proven by definition 1 plus 1 is true. If somebody asks, can you prove 1 plus 1 is true? How do you prove 1 plus 1 is true? Can anybody prove 1 plus 1 is true? Anybody knows how to? Online? Anybody can prove 1 plus 1 equal to 2? Yeah, 1 plus 1 is true, but how do you prove it? Beyond any reasonable doubt. It should be proven beyond reasonable doubt. But that is your finger. My finger, if I add, it may come to 3.
Using university books or something.
What is that?
Some books, I mean, you refer some.
You refer some books. Actually, 1 plus 1 is true because the number 2 is defined as a set of 2 ones. In mathematics, in the number theory, you got the concept of 1. And then you have got the concept of 2. If you go and study, what is the meaning of 2? It will be said that 2 is defined as a set of 2 ones. Because the number 2 is defined as a set of 2 ones, therefore, by definition, 2 is 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, it is by definition. You cannot disprove it. So you basically take certain axiomatic truth and then you derive information from that in such a way without assuming anything else, that is called deductive reasoning. And it is always truth. Deductive reasoning is always true. Whereas inductive reasoning is you theorize something and you say it may be like this. Light is behaving like a wave. Maybe. Let me see. Let me test it out. And then you perform some experiments. And then you see that, oh, yes, life is actually, it is true. My theory was correct. But 5 years later, somebody else may perform some other experiment and it may be proven to be false. Correct? So inductive reasoning is you take a particular proposition and then you try to say that perhaps it will be like this. Because it is so in one case, it may be so in another case, it may be so in another case. Therefore, in all cases, it must be true. Because we cannot, whenever there is life in front of us, we can see it. Because on the moon, I cannot see the life. Because my instruments cannot perceive life. Therefore, there is no life. Because on earth, whatever life is there, I'm able to perceive. That means if I'm not able to perceive, there is no life. This is called inductive reasoning. So inductive reasoning is got this fallacy. Sometimes it may be right, sometimes it may not be right. It is not always true. Whereas deductive reasoning is always true. So our deductive reasoning is that Vedas are infallible by definition, because it has come from Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is perfect, who is all perfect, all knowing, all cognizant. And therefore, the information that comes from him is all perfect by definition. It cannot be false. So that is called deductive reasoning. So therefore, we take the science of knowledge, information from Krishna. It can never be wrong. And that's the best way of learning. So thus we learned that we can see the perfect yogi is able to see Krishna everywhere. So this is the third point that we discussed in the purport. Now, a week back, we had studied this, how there are 3 stages of Brahma-Bhuta. There is a joyful state. There were some verses where we studied that. There is a state of no hankering or lamentation. And then there is a state of equal vision, where a person is able to see with equal vision. So today's verse we are seeing, so we have already seen in the previous verses how a person is, after having controlled his senses, comes to the state of being joyful, full of happiness. Highest happiness is obtained by a person who's has identified himself with Brahman. So we also saw there is a concept of identity. You can have identity with the absolute, or you can have identity with the body, the temporary relative identity, or the absolute identity. So a person who is able to come to the platform of absolute identity becomes joyful, achieves highest transcendental happiness, gives up all hankering, no lamentation, and then the next stage, he is able to see everyone with equal vision. And that is the verse that we are studying today. How after having recrossed that stage, a person, a perfect yogi, is able to come to the state of seeing the super soul from Paramatma in everybody's heart. This is the stage of Paramatma realization. So we have already crossed the earlier stages. First, sense control was discussed in several verses. Then identification of Brahman was discussed. So Brahman identification, Brahman platform, Brahman realization was talked about. And then now gradually we are coming to the Paramatma realization. So this verse and the next 3 verses are all relating to Paramatma realization. And so that will be discussed in the next few classes as well. So the seeing everyone with equal vision, seeing of Krishna, we come to this, today's topic to deliberate upon this. How do we see God? So there is this reference to seeing everybody with equal vision, seeing Krishna in everyone, seeing everyone in Krishna, seeing Krishna everywhere. But in our experience, we are not seeing God anywhere. And often we have this doubt. Who has seen God? Have you seen? No, nobody, I don't know who has seen. So let us look at this a little bit more carefully. What is the meaning of seeing? And what is the process of seeing God as per our scriptures? And what is the process? Because there is a reference to seeing God, seeing Krishna in several verses of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam also. So what is this seeing? Let us just think about this. Let us reflect upon this a little bit. There is a show in National Public Radio. I don't know if you all heard about this. It is called Car Talk. Have you heard of this? Car Talk, national NPR, comes on NPR. There's a show called Car Talk. It's been there for many, many years. I don't know if it is still continuing or not, but maybe it has stopped now. But it was there for many years. So in this, what happens is there is two people. There are two people who are on the show, and people call in with problems relating to their cars. So they say, "Oh, my car has got." Whenever I have heard many times previously, I used to commute a lot to work, and when the car is going on, many people will have some channel on. So for me, usually it will be NPR, and especially actually on Sundays, this program used to come. Whenever we used to travel somewhere on Sunday, this program would come, and people would call in, and they'll say, "My car has got." Whenever I start my 2002 Odyssey, when I start it, after 5 minutes of running, it gives one krr krr sound. Then immediately that person who's a host, there were two brothers, I think, who are experts in automobile, and they used to ask, "Is it so 2000 Odyssey? Is it Odyssey LX or is it DX?" We'll say, "Oh, LX. Oh, LX. Okay. Is the sound coming from the rear right-hand side, or is it coming from the front? Is it coming from the engine?" "Oh, it comes from the engine side." "Oh, okay, okay. Does it come like grrr, grrr, and then stop immediately, or it comes like like that for a long time?" Then the person who's calling will say something. It says grrr, grrr, and then it stops. See, in 2002 Odyssey, the AC unit had a recall, which happened in 2012. If you did not take the recall, then this sound will come. So just by hearing the question, he is able to see the insides of the car. Just by hearing, he is not able to open the hood. He's not even opened the hood. Just by hearing the description of the problem, the expert auto mechanic is able to see, is able to realize what problem is there in the car. He's able to see the state of the engine. He's able to see the state of the AC. And then for such a simple device like a car, but then we cannot do it, right? We can take the car apart. We will not come to know that AC has a problem or anything. We'll probably, 2002, we'll just total it. That's what we can do. But for such a simple device like a car, if it requires such an advanced knowledge, and where a person can, with the experience and knowledge of the mechanics, if a person simply by hearing the problem can immediately tell and realize the actual situation in the car, then imagine for seeing God, what kind of qualification will be required. So there is actually a very interesting chapter in this book called Journey of Self-Discovery. Journey of Self-Discovery. I would highly recommend this book. It has got a series of conversations and articles and talks by Srila Prabhupada on various subjects. And one of these chapters here in this book, the name of the chapter is Everyone Can See God. And Prabhupada says that sometimes people come and ask him, "Have you seen God?" There are a lot of press reporters and such people. They come and ask Prabhupada, "Have you seen God?" And so Prabhupada always replied, "Yes, I am seeing God, and you can also see God." But it requires qualification. It requires qualification. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, "Naham prakashah sarvasya yoga maya samavritah." I am not exposed to everyone. So, yoga maya samavritah. Krishna does not have a need that he should expose himself to you. Just because you want to see him, why should Krishna expose himself to you? You need to develop the qualification to see Krishna. Then Krishna will reveal himself. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, as Prabhupada is explaining, "Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradavaha." Sinful rascals, fools, the lowest among mankind, they inquire like that. "Can you show me God?" What qualification you acquired by which you can see God? And then he quotes one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Tat saddhana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashyanti atmani chatmanam bhaktya sutagrihitya. And in the translation also he explains what is the real qualification for seeing God. And the word Atmani, Chatmanam, they're also there in today's verse. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes the absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedic literature, Vedanta Shruti. And this is Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.12. Tat Shraddhadhana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Pashyanti Atmani Chatmanam Bhaktya Shuddha. So Tat Shraddhadhana Munayo, and that is translated as the seriously inquisitive student or sage. So the serious inquisitiveness or serious desire to know Krishna, to see Krishna, that eagerness is very important. So there is one story where there was a professional Bhagavatam reciter. He was reciting Bhagavatam, and in that audience, there were many people there, and in the audience, one thief came and sat there. And the Bhagavatam reciter was describing that there is a person called Krishna. He's a small boy. He's in the forest of Vrindavan, and he's always decorated. His mother decorates him with wonderful, valuable jewels, and he's so beautiful, very young child. And seeing this, hearing this description of this professional Bhagavatam reciter, this thief gets desire that, oh, jewels, ornaments. Oh, I need to see this boy. This ornaments are so easy to steal. Small boy, after all, I can fool him easily. So makes his determination that he will go to this place, some place that Bhagavatam person has spoken called Vrindavan. Okay, I never heard of it before, but let me find out. I'll go there. So he goes to the speaker and says, you mentioned this Vrindavan. Can you please tell me how to go there? And then the speaker will say, yeah, you just go from here, take this road, you go to Vrindavan, you'll be there. Then he goes somehow, there are a lot of roads that have to be taken, and everywhere he comes and stops, and then he asks, and then he takes his path. And then when he reaches Vrindavan, he is very eager. The eagerness is increasing. Oh, I'm going to become rich. This will be my last heist job. We often see heist movies where there is some major bank robbery or something, and they'll always say, this is the last bank robbery. After this, we won't have to do. We'll be settled for life. So with all that eagerness, he's going there, and so much intensity. And people are all thinking, looking at him and saying, "Arey, he's become a fool. A thief is going. This person is looking for Krishna, and they think he's a fool." But actually, he's extremely eager. And he's so eager that he starts looking in the forest of Vrindavan. He actually meets Krishna. Krishna comes face to face in front of him. And then initially, the thief says, he starts to placate Krishna and say, "Oh, such a nice boy," and starts talking sweetly to him. And then he asks him for his jewels. And this thief says, Krishna, he acts like a small innocent boy and says, no, my mother will be very angry with me. How I can give you my jewels? Then this thief says, okay, looks like this will be slightly difficult. But he starts to, because he's an expert thief, he starts engaging him in different conversations. Actually, Krishna knows what is in his mind. But just out of his mercy to him, he engages him in conversation. Krishna also engages. And after some time, gradually by association with Krishna, this thief becomes fully purified. And seeing his purity, Krishna says, all right, you can take all my jewels. And then this thief says, no, I'm very, very much ashamed. I'm very sorry for having asked you for the jewels. Actually, I'm a thief. I came to steal your jewels. And he takes shelter of Krishna. So like this seriousness, this eagerness that one has, actually that is the qualification to see Krishna. There are also other examples. Like Dhruva Maharaj, how he was eager and determined, that is also required. There is a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Rupa Goswami's verse. So Rupa Goswami says, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matihi Kriyatam Yadi Kuto Api Labhyate Tatra Laulyam Api Mulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukritair Na Labhyate. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita. Often we hear this word Krishna consciousness, and you might also wonder, what is this Krishna consciousness? Where did Prabhupada get this word from? Prabhupada says that this is actually the phrase on which he has, based on which he has coined the term, translated the term Krishna consciousness. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita. So Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matihi Kriyatam Yadi Kuto Api Labhyate. If Krishna consciousness, Rupa Goswami is saying this, if Krishna consciousness is available anywhere if it's available, then immediately it must be purchased. It must be purchased. But how to purchase it? There is a price for it. What is the price? Rupa Goswami says, Tatra laulyam api mulyam ekalam. There is only one price to be paid, and that price is laulyam, or eagerness. If there is eagerness available with a person, using that eagerness, Krishna consciousness can be purchased. But is that eagerness easy to create? It is possible, but it is not possible by the dint of one's own material effort, by performing various yagnas or pious activities or charity or any such other reading of books. It is not possible to get eagerness. Ordinary material books, not possible to get. Janma koti sukritair na labhyate. Even if you have millions of lifetimes of such pious activities, you cannot get that laulyam. Not easy. Pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of lives. It can be attained only by paying one price, and that is intense greed to obtain it. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay. So this is the price that must be paid, and if a person is willing to pay this price, person is able to have this intense eagerness, serious inquisitiveness, eagerness, then yes, it is possible to see Krishna. Now, I'll go past this. Let us take a second look at this verse. Sarva bhutastam atmanam, sarva bhutani chatmani, ikshate yoga yuktatma, sarvatra samadarshana. There is one word which appears 3 times in this verse. 3 times it appears. What is that verse? What is that word? There is one word which appears
Sarva.
3 times. Sarva. Yes, Sarva. Sarva bhutastam, sarva bhutani, sarvatra. So this word Sarva is appearing 3 times. And if you see in the purport also, Sarva, all. If you see in the word Sarva, is translated as all. And similarly in the purport also, the second paragraph, you can see the word all is appearing many times. I have made it bold. Let us just look at this word all or Sarva, how Prabhupada has explained this. The Lord being the source of all beings. The Lord is the source of all beings. So that is one reason why a true yogi is able to see the Lord in all beings, because he is the source of all beings. So Sarvam, all. That is one important use of the word all. Then let's look at the next instance. As the mother is neutral to all different kinds of children, if a mother has 10 children, 20 children, whatever it may be, no matter how many children, she is neutral to all. So all the beings, living beings, are created from the Lord. Lord is the source of all beings, and he is neutral to all of them. There is no exception. Somebody may think that yes, generally speaking, he is neutral, but looks like for me does not have a soft corner. No, it is not like that. All beings is neutral, Sarvam. And then consequently, the super soul is always, actually I should have made that also bold. See, there is another all. There are 2 alls that Prabhupada is using, multiple ways Prabhupada is explaining. There is another one word here, which is always. All is all beings, correct? But the all word is also used in time dimension. That is always. Super soul is always. Not that yesterday he was not present, today is present, day after tomorrow he won't be present. It's not like that. So past, present, and future, eternally he is present. Always in every living being. Outwardly also, every living being is situated. And then again, one more word, living entity is always in Lord's energy. So let's look at 2-3 more things, and I'll see what's the significance of this. The yogi sees equally because he sees that all living entities, although in different situations according to the results of the fruitive work, in all circumstances, all circumstances is actually an experience of time, because circumstances changed by time. By the effect of guna, kala, karma, circumstances are changing. Sometimes we are in a dog body, sometimes. So one is at this point in time, there's a dog body, there's a Brahmana body. They're different jivatmas. And super soul is present in both of them. But if you take me as a person, in my last life, I might have been a dog. In this life, I am somebody, a human being. Next life, who knows who? So whatever be the circumstances of me, in all circumstances, Paramatma is present. See, the other meaning. All circumstances remains a servant of God. And again, in either case, there is also a situation of all. So in all cases, either case means you can say in all cases. So the word all is being used in two ways. One is in the present moment, whatever living beings are there, whatever spatial space that you see, in space and in living being, that is an external energy and an internal energy, Krishna is present everywhere. That is one understanding. Another understanding is in all times, all ways, in past, present, and future also, Krishna is present in everybody's heart as super soul. There is one wonderful verse in Bhagavatam that actually captures these two words separately, because in the current verse, there is only one, that Sarvam and Sarvatra, that has been used. But in Bhagavatam, there is a verse where it says Sarvatra Sarvada, which is always and everywhere. So that verse comes in the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. I know there is not much time, so I'll very briefly just talk about it and introduce you to the concept of Chatushloki Bhagavatam and how it is mentioned as Sarvatra Sarvada, and we will see the wonderful position of the Lord, how he plays and how the message of the Lord is available to all of us in all circumstances, always, everywhere. So the first verse of Chatushloki, there are 4 verses in Chatushloki, just like in Bhagavad Gita. In 10th chapter, you have Chatushloki. In Bhagavatam, in the second canto, 9th chapter, there are 4 verses in which Lord instructs Brahma in the beginning. And that is actually the beginning of Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam, the original knowledge, is coming because the Supreme Lord is instructing, in brief, complete detailed knowledge through to Brahma through this instruction. And the way he's imparting it, Brahma immediately realizes that complete knowledge. So the first verse is Brahma, and Krishna is addressing to Brahma. He says, Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead, and after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. So this is a very famous verse where Krishna is saying that he was present before before creation happened, and after the annihilation also he remains. So this is the first verse, and let's look at the second verse. So then Krishna says, O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. So Krishna is telling Brahma that if somebody is able to see, if somebody is seeing something without relation to me, if they're seeing let's say this table is there, and they're just seeing a table, they don't see Krishna in the table. They don't see Krishna in computer. Then Krishna is saying that somebody sees like that, then remember that is illusory. It is not reality. It doesn't exist actually. If something is there, anything that is there, it exists only in my relationship. There is nothing in existence without my relationship. So you see how Brahma, as a result of this instruction, is immediately able to see everything in relation to Krishna. And everyone who's coming in the disciplic succession from Brahma, the pure devotee, the acharyas, they are also giving us this knowledge. So a pure devotee, a true yogi, therefore, will always see everything in relation to Krishna. And then the third verse, Krishna says, O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time I'm outside of everything. So Krishna is giving this very apparently contradictory and confusing instruction to Brahma. It's a mystery, very mysterious statement. I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time, I'm outside of everything. And we also studied this Krishna says this again in Bhagavad Gita, in 9th chapter. What does he say? Matstani sarvabhutani. And then immediately after that he says, Nachamatstani bhutani, pashyame yogam aishwaryam. So he says apparently two contradictory statements. All the living entities are present in me, but I am not in them. Nachamatstani bhutani, all living entities are not in me. So apparently two contradictory statements. And then he says, behold my mystic opulence. So there's a mystery to understanding of this. That is why it is Raja Guhyam, most confidential information that Krishna is giving to understand that. What is it required? How do we unlock this mystery? And for that, Prabhupada is actually giving a clue to unlocking this mystery in the purport of this verse, of this particular verse in Bhagavatam. Let us just read this verse briefly. Some portion of this, actually long purport. I'll just read some small portion of it. Prabhupada says, the impersonalist can imagine or even perceive that the Supreme Brahman is thus all-pervading, and therefore they may conclude that there is no possibility of his personal form. So before this paragraph, there is a description of how Krishna is present everywhere through his impersonal energy. So Prabhupada is saying that impersonalists can imagine like that. So because Krishna is himself saying that he's present everywhere, all the elements are present in all the bodies, therefore that is Krishna's energy. So there is no personal form because it's already impersonal everywhere. Same element, let us say earth. Earth is present in your body, my body. Everywhere earth is present. That is Krishna's energy. Therefore Krishna is impersonal. So impersonalists can think like this. And herein lies the mystery of his transcendental knowledge. Why? Because Krishna is saying, I am separate from that. Krishna is saying that all these things, they're all there, but I am still separate. So now how to understand this? That is a mystery. And Prabhupada explains what the mystery is. This mystery is a transcendental love of Godhead. And one who is surcharged with such transcendental love of Godhead can without difficulty see the personality of Godhead in every atom and every movable or immovable object. And at the same time, he can see the personality of Godhead in his own abode, Goloka, enjoying eternal pastimes with his eternal associates, who are also expansions of his transcendental existence. This vision is a real mystery of spiritual knowledge, as stated by the Lord in the beginning. This mystery is the most confidential part of the knowledge of the Supreme, and it is impossible for the mental speculators to discover by the dint of intellectual gymnastics. So the mystery of transcendental love of Godhead lies in transcendental, the mystery of the transcendental knowledge lies in transcendental love of God. So if a person is able to develop transcendental love of Godhead, then he can see Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan vishabhyate. He will be able to see the actual position of the Lord in three aspects: in the impersonal aspect, in the localized Paramatma aspect, as well as in the Bhagavan aspect. So to see the Lord present in every living entity as Paramatma, to see the Lord in every object in the material nature that is around us, and to see the Lord also present personally in Goloka, in his own abode, enjoying the eternal pastimes. This requires transcendental, loving, devotional service of the Lord. Then Prabhupada shows how a devotee is able to see this. And he quotes from Brahma Samhita, Prema Anjana Churita. Prema Anjana Churita. Anjana is the eyeliner, ointment that we put in the eye. Prema Anjana Churita. Bhakti Prema Anjana, that is the ointment of love. Prema Anjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Shanta Srideva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. So a pure devotee is able to see with the ointment of love, is able to see the Lord always within the heart. And how? Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adipurusham Tamam Bhajami. I worship the original personality of Godhead Govinda, whom the pure devotees, their eyes smeared with the ointment of love of Godhead, always observed within their hearts. This Govinda, the original personality of Godhead, is Shama Sundara with all transcendental qualities. And now let us see the fourth verse in the Chaturshloki very, very briefly. And this is where the word Sarvatra Sarvada comes. Etavad eva jignasyam tattva jignasunatmanaha anvaya vyatirekabhyam yat syat sarvatra sarvada. So what this means, a person who is searching after absolute, supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this in all circumstances, in all space and time, both directly and indirectly. So the Supreme Lord, after having spoken the 3 verses of Chatushloki Bhagavatam, essentially the entire Bhagavatam, which is concisely described in the 3 verses, and in the 3rd verse, he has described how if there is anything that is existing not in relationship with him is unreal, which means everything must be seen in relation to Krishna. So this stage a person should reach, no matter what system of knowledge is pursuing. Somebody may be pursuing philosophical speculation. Somebody may be pursuing Sankhya Yoga, like it is described in 6th chapter. Somebody may be pursuing Bhakti Yoga. Somebody may be pursuing Dhyana, any yoga, any system. Somebody may be doing scientific research by studying the molecules of a blade of grass. If you are truly seeking after knowledge, then the ultimate height of knowledge is to come to the point to see everything and everyone in relationship to Krishna. That is what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. And not only that, everything and everyone in relation to Krishna, but everywhere and always. Sarvatra Sarvada. So this devotional service that Krishna is talking about must be performed, can be performed everywhere and always. And I will just mention very briefly a very wonderful explanation that has been given by Jiva Goswami in relationship to, with respect to the Sarvatra Sarvada, and that is quoted by Srila Prabhupada in the purport of this verse. I'll just quote a few things. It's a very elaborate section where Jiva Goswami explains exactly what the Sarvatra Sarvada means. Everywhere, always. What does it mean? So, in brief, there are 4 aspects of this everywhere, always. So, Jiva Goswami says that devotional service, the principles of Bhakti Yoga, the principles of devotional service, they are apt. That means they apply. Sarvatra Sarvada. What does it mean? It means that the principles of devotional service are recommended in all the revealed scriptures. It is not that only Bhagavatam is speaking about it. It is the conclusion of all the revealed scriptures that devotional service must be performed. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, no less. This is the conclusion. This is a recommendation in all the revealed scriptures. This is point number 1 made by Jiva Goswami. The second, devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is rendered, is performed by all authorities. There are several great authorities. They have been quoted by various scriptures, various Puranas, Itihasas. It is not that somebody is concocting it now. It has always been the case. Authorities, yadyad acharati shreshta tatta devetaro janaha. We always follow great authorities. And the authorities quoted in the Bhagavatam in other scriptures, they are actually great authorities because they are performing devotional service. So all the great authorities are also performing this. It is important in all the places. There are several places, whether it may be earth, heavenly planets, moon, sun, everywhere. There are several examples. Even on the earth, there are various different situations. It may be a house, it may be a temple, it may be some other place, Nagar Sankirtan, anywhere. Devotional service should be always present, should be always performed. It's applicable in all places. There is no place that is excluded for devotional service. And it is useful in all causes and effects. So no matter what is it that you're looking for, whatever outcome you're looking for, devotional service is relevant. So, and then there are several examples given, but due to lack of time, I won't go through this. If you have got time, there are various quotations that Jiva Goswami gives, Skanda Purana, Garuda Purana, and many other examples are given. But I will not go through this much in detail. But if you have got time, you can go through this. This is the 2.9.36 verse. It's a very, very enlightening verse because it has got this universal applicability of devotional service. Universal means universal being, whether the being may be in any planetary system, maybe in higher planetary system, in hell. In fact, there is a quotation where it says, even at the time of dissolution of the universe, devotional service is performed. Because the Supreme Lord protects the Vedas. from being destroyed. And therefore, even at the time of dissolution, devotional service is performed. There is another quotation where the residents of the hellish planets, they got promoted to heavenly planets after performing devotional service. There was one instance where the residents of hell, normally you'll think hell means they're burning fire, there is some very difficult circumstances, not very comfortable at all in hellish planets. Even in that circumstance, at the time, they performed a devotional service and got benefited. There is a quotation, there is an instance like that in the Vedic literature. So like this, there are so many quotations that show how there is no reason, there is no excuse for us to say that right now is not the good time for me to take up devotional service. Right now, I am busy with my academics. Right now, I've got too many duties towards my children. Right now, my parents are old, I have to take care of them. Right now, I just got married, I am too busy. There is no such situation or place, circumstance or time where devotional service does not apply. It applies everywhere, always. And if a person has got that seriousness, that inquisitiveness, that eagerness, that laulium, then such a person can definitely see God. So with this, I'll stop here and see if you have any questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhu. I have one question. Like, as you have mentioned, how Krishna is neutral, like a mother, like all the living entities he sees equally, right? So, but usually, how do we support this statement when we are speaking with people, Prabhu? Because the question comes, why I am suffering, why you are not suffering, why I am not happy, why you are happy. Though there is prarabdha karma, we all carry along with us, but still, how do we support that statement too?
The first thing is, let us say somebody says that, I've got, life seems to be unfair to me. Life seems to be very unfair. Look at this, what has happened. I have some birth. My my father was always sick, and we had difficulty growing up, financial difficulty, so many difficulties. But you see these other people, they're all so well off, very fortunate. It seems like the Lord is unfair to me.
Yeah.
This some people will say. Actually, when a person is in that state of mind, it is not something that they have arrived at that conclusion at that point in time. There is nothing you can say at that point in time that will change their mind about that. Because they have contemplated on this for a very long period of time through a series of occurrences in their life. And every time something happens, they form a conclusion that in this instance, in this interaction, in this situation, Lord has been unfair to me. Then 6 months will happen, 3 months will happen. Something nice will happen. At that time, they won't give any credit to the Lord. But then 6 months later, something unpleasant will happen. Now they'll again remember, oh, Lord has been unkind to me. See, the second time they remember. Then next year. They keep on contemplating until that initial, what could be a theory, becomes a strong conviction in the heart. It is unfair. Life is unfair. So when a person becomes so convinced and such a strong conviction that fundamentally life is unfair to me, that cannot be changed by a discussion. There is nothing you can say at that point that will change their mind. So what we should show is kindness to that person and simply hear that person and give them prasadam, get them to the temple and let them experience kirtan, let them experience sadhu sangha. Gradually by hearing Krishna Katha in the association of devotees, Shraddha will come. The verse that we should remember for this is Satam Prasangam Amaviri Samvido Bhavanto Hritkarna Rasayana Katha Tajjoshanad Ashu Apavarga Vartamani Shraddha Bhaktir Ratir Anukramishyati. So such a person who does not have Shraddha, you say that Krishna is fair, but he's not able to accept. That cannot be changed in a moment of discussion or argument. It can only be changed by hearing Krishna Katha in the association of devotees. So if we can create a circumstance because sometimes they're not even willing to come to the temple to hear them, because the moment you say Krishna, their mind is turned off. Oh, this is an unfair person. You're taking me to the same person who's unfair to me, like that, right? So if such a person is like that, who has got a little bit mind turned off from Krishna, then by speaking more glories about Krishna directly, sometimes they will not hear, because then they'll start committing more offenses. So you give, first you hear, show kindness. You show kindness because they're trusting you. They're telling you this information. So you have to show kindness to them and listen to them, give them prasadam and give them your association, and just be gentle and try to share their pain, reduce their pain. Once their mind, let us say that somebody is, you're going to a game of hockey and they're playing, and suddenly one child falls down, right? Blood is oozing out. And then to that person you say, oh, Shitoshna Shukkadukadaha Agamaya Paino Nityastam Tidikshasva Bharata. Just tolerate it. What will that boy say? It's paining, right now it's bleeding. He cannot understand, right? He's shocked by the blood. So he's not in a state of mind to understand that. So the shocked mind, the haunted, the ghostly haunted mind, they are not sometimes in a position to understand Krishna Tattva, Vishnu Tattva. They cannot understand that. So first we have to get them to the point where they're able to understand and not averse to devotional service. So my experience has been that such cases you have to give them kindness, show kindness, and get them closer to you. And then once you have got the relationship, gradually get them to the temple, hear Krishna Katha, and that way they'll get purified and they'll develop the faith. Shraddha, the first Adho Shraddha. But before the Shraddha, the person should be open-minded. If the person already has a conclusion, then he's not open-minded. So he cannot receive. He cannot receive the knowledge. So that's why before even coming to the stage of appreciating Krishna Katha, first they have to be a little bit open-minded and drop the negativity. Then very soon as they, a little bit of openness also is there, that is enough. Even such people who have got this kind of attitude, sometimes somewhere in the corner of their heart, they have got some little bit of Shraddha. So when you hear the Krishna Katha in the association of devotees, that little bit of Shraddha, it just grows. And very soon it becomes a strong faith.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes, Mother. Anybody else?
Yeah, Prabhu, one more, this Samadarshana word is used even in the 5th chapter, right? Like Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. So what is the different context here, Prabhu, to this verse and that verse?
Yeah, no, it's a similar verse. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Panditaha Samadarshinaha. So the humble sage, what is that exact word after that? By knowledge, by the virtue of knowledge, sees with equal vision all those Brahmana, dog eater, and elephant. So that also, the humble sage, by the virtue of knowledge, what is that knowledge? The knowledge is the Supreme Lord is present in everyone's heart. So it is the same that is being developed in the previous chapter, which is describing action in Krishna consciousness, Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. And in this chapter, the same state of knowledge is achieved through Dhyana Yoga process.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
Any other questions? If there are no questions, I'll request all of you to please come on the camera and chant after me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की, जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की, जय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरे कृष्णा।